He couldn't solve problems, he just stood by me. I was sitting in my office. The year before, I had been hit by a car while I was cycling and broke my collarbone, and I was just getting back into training. I started to get this horrible pain in my shoulder. I stopped and I tried to stretch it out. It didn't work. I tried to shake it off. It didn't work, and I was about to go into a very important meeting. Now, I've learned that when your body sends you signals, it's best not to ignore them. So I decided to cancel the meeting and I went to see a doctor, and he took one look at me and said, "You have a torn rotator cuff." He said, "You're lucky. You have a partial tear. Most people end up with a full tear. A full tear means you have to have surgery. A partial tear, we can do some physio and maybe we can fix it for you." So I did the physio. It didn't work. I did it again. It didn't work. I saw the guy 3 times. It didn't work. And each time I saw him, the tear got bigger. I went to see another doctor who took one look at me and said, "You need an operation." So I said, "Okay, let's do it." But the specialist told me that because of where I lived, there was a 5-hour wait list to get into his operating theater. I said, "Surely there's something we can do to speed that up." And he said, "No, it's a 5-hour wait list," he said. "Why don't you come back in 2 weeks? We'll put you down for an operation then." So I said, "Okay, that's what I'll do." In the meantime, I called one of my friends who was visiting London and I said, "Do you know any surgeons?" And he said, "Yeah, I think I do. Why don't you come around for dinner and I'll introduce you to him?" So I went over for dinner and met this wonderful surgeon. I said, "Look, I've got this problem with my shoulder. Can you help me?" He said, "Of course." He looked me up and down and he said, "It looks to me like you need an operation." I said, "Well, that's what I thought. So how soon can you do it?" He said, "Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. I said, "Brilliant." So I turned up the next morning at 7:30 and I was in the operating theater by 8. Now, when you're having surgery, they put you into a gown, and this gown is one of the most uncomfortable things that you could possibly wear. I have to say, it's really scratchy. And as I sat there waiting for the anesthetist to come and do whatever they were going to do to me, I thought, my goodness, what am I doing here? Maybe I should have gone to see that other surgeon and been on the 5-hour list, and I started to feel a little bit anxious. And then this surgeon came in and he said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Don't worry, everything's going to be fine." And he put his hand on my shoulder and he looked me in the eye, and I knew in that moment that everything was going to be okay, and I wasn't on the 5-hour wait list. I was exactly where I was supposed to be. When you face a challenge or a problem, sometimes the best thing that you can do is just stand still. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just stay where you are. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just be present. The truth is, life will always throw stuff at you. There will always be challenges. There will always be problems. And I believe that the most important quality that you can have is the ability to remain calm in the face of adversity. If you can keep your wits about you when others are losing theirs, if you can remain level-headed when others are panicking, if you can stay focused and be present when everyone else is running around like headless chickens, you have a quality that's so rare, it's so valuable, it's so useful, it'll serve you well throughout your entire life. I am not saying that you won't ever panic or that you won't ever lose your cool. What I am saying is that if you practice remaining present, when the time comes, you'll be more likely to do it. There was a guy who worked in a bank, he was a relationship manager, and he had a guy who worked for him who was absolutely hopeless at his job. He just couldn't do anything right, and he was under a lot of pressure because the bank had taken on a lot of new clients and he was struggling to manage them all, and he was working long hours and he was stressed out. One day he was walking through the city and he came across this beautiful park. It was a big park with lots of trees and flowers and a lake and ducks and swans and people just chilling out. And he walked in and he just sat down on a bench and he closed his eyes and he was just present. As he sat there he thought, what do I do? And he knew in his heart that he needed to fire that guy. He knew that no matter how much he wanted to, he couldn't keep this guy on. He just wasn't good enough. And it would reflect badly on him if he kept him on. So he got up and he walked into the bank and he went to see the guy and he said, "Listen, you're fired." And the guy burst out crying. He said, "But why?" "I'm trying my best." He said, "I know you are, but it's not good enough." And the guy just kept on crying and he felt terrible. As he walked away, he thought, maybe I should have given him more time. Maybe I should have helped him more. Maybe I should have trained him harder. But then he stopped and he thought, no, I did everything I could. I gave him every opportunity. And as he walked away, he felt a sense of peace. Sometimes the most difficult thing that you can do is also the right thing. And when you make that call and you take that action, there will always be a little voice inside of you that says, you could be wrong, you could be making a mistake. When you face those moments, when you face those decisions, if you can remain calm, if you can stay present, if you can focus on what's important, you'll be able to make the right decisions even when they're difficult. Now, staying present doesn't mean that you don't think about the future. Staying present doesn't mean that you're not aware of the past. Staying present means that you're aware of everything, but you're choosing not to let it overwhelm you. Staying present means that you have the ability to observe what's happening without judgment. You see everything clearly and you choose how you respond. Most people try to avoid being present. They try to escape from it. They try to distract themselves. They watch pornography. They eat junk food. They drink alcohol. They take drugs. They overspend. They stay up too late at night. They stay up too late watching Netflix. Because when you're present, you have to face reality, and reality can be uncomfortable sometimes. Reality can be messy. Reality can be complicated. But reality is also where you live. And if you're not present in reality, you're not living. You're merely surviving. One of the best pieces of advice that I've ever heard is this: worry doesn't empty tomorrow with its problems. It only empties today with its possibilities. Don't waste your life worrying about the future. Don't waste your life trying to escape from the present moment. The only moment that you have right now is the present moment. That's the only moment that's real. The past is gone. The future hasn't happened yet. Only the present is real. So be present. Stay in the moment. Be aware of what's happening right now. And when you have a plan, when you know what you're doing, take massive action towards it. But if you find yourself in a position where you're not sure what to do, sometimes the best thing you can do is just stay where you are. Sometimes the best thing you can do is to trust the process. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just to have faith. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just to be present. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button below. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you here. Thank you so much for watching.